your personal brand is like the most important thing. It's one of my favorite, I think it was a TED Talk that Seth Godin, who's like the guru of marketing, once said about the importance of brand, right? If Nike were to open a hotel today, we would all know what that hotel would be like, what the aesthetic, the vibe, the energy. But if Hyatt were to launch a shoe, we would have no, is it an orthopedic shoe? Is it a sandal? What is it? I have no clue because they are a logo. And I think a lot of us today, we're more of a logo on a for sale sign than an actual personal brand.
Welcome to the Raquel Show. This show is for entrepreneurs who want to play bigger in business and in life. And today I have a very special guest that I met at an event. And let me tell you, he's probably one of the best moderators and speakers I know in this industry.
Wow.
He brings, yes. And I tell you that all the time. He brings a wealth of knowledge and he's been in the industry for over 15 years with a 90% referral base, and it sold over $1 billion in real estate and was named Chicago's Realtor of the Year. Welcome to the show, Tommy Choi.
Thank you. I'm going to download and save that clip. So every morning, that's my words of affirmation from Raquel, just telling me and showering me in positivity.
Yes,
I love that.
And it's the truth. I've been on lots of stages, and you by far are one of the best moderators and best speakers that I've met. So that is definitely your gift. So I love speaking to people like you because you have a ton of experience and you have a proven track record. And we were just talking about this offline, and you've seen different market cycles. So let's start with like your referral business. That's extremely impressive. I'm sure people that are listening right now, 90%, was that built by design? And what does that truly look like today?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was not built by design, but it was discovered. And then we chiseled it out, right, by design. And what I mean by that is when I first got into the industry was 2000, end of 2006, and went full-time June 1st, 2007, which hindsight, right? Great time to get into real estate right before the big crash. But we had known, my business partner, Josh, and I, we were 25 years old and we had a large network of people. And at the time, they were not ready to purchase yet and become home buyers. So they were still tenants. So we were helping on the rental side and just literally just going by the people we knew. And that eventually turned into those buyers. And we started to really understand, okay, we already have, we call it like our fan club. So we have this fan club of people that want to support what we do and who we are. Why do we need to look anywhere else? I remember we literally got a quote to pay for a billboard. And now looking back, I'm like, what would you have done with this billboard? It was going to be like 10 grand for the year too. And that's all we had because we bootstrapped our own company when we first started. It was the people that really, that did it for us. And when I tell you the design part that came in that made us more intentional, I came across this white paper by the Stanford professor. His name was Mark Granovetter. And it was the paper was called The Strength of Weak Ties. And all this guy wanted to know was like, hey, if he got fired and he needed to find a new job, how was he going to get in front of that next employer? Who were the people that were going to get him in front of them? And his hypothesis was it was going to be his most inner circle, his closest friends. And after doing the research, the data actually showed it was complete opposite and was complete strangers. And it really sunk into me because I thought about that after reading that paper. And I realized that my inner circle, the closest friends and my family, they're my worst referral source. And I think a lot of people can agree with that. And it's not because they don't love us and support us and want to shower us with the opportunities, but I look at my best friends, we spend the most time together. So we think alike, right? Anyone that spends time with people, you think about, you dress alike, you like the same music, you like the same movies, you go to the same restaurant. So it's hard to think outside the box when you're lead generating and using the old, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? You start to just think of your friends. And so that was really the aha that pushed me of, I need to figure out ways to bridge myself into other networks. And so that changed the way we lead generate at the time. And when we called our database, instead of asking for the referrals, which we still did, we entered a new script into what we would say. And it would be like, hey, Raquel, I'm always looking to meet good people. I always want to just strengthen my network and surround myself with really good people like you. Who's someone that I need to meet that fits that description? And usually it'd be silence on the other end. And that's because you put someone on the spot. When I'm on the spot, I'm a deer in headlights. And so I would always nudge with two little examples. I'd be like, you know what? Let me give you a little bit of a nudge. When you're at work and it's like 11:15, 11:30 is approaching and it's lunchtime, you're starting to get hungry, who's the person you message in Slack and say, hey, I'll be ready in 15 minutes. Let's go eat together. Who's the person when 4:45 hits and you're going to a happy hour after work? Who's the person you're texting saying, hey, let's go into the bar together, right? I'll meet you by the elevator. And now all of a sudden you're thinking of 20 people you can think of. And that's how I would ask, do I know those people? And you'd be like, no. And I'm shocked because I spend so much time with them and I love you. Yeah. Can you introduce me to them? And so we started to get these introductions. And my favorite thing that would come of these introductions is that, well, the first thing I would always do is I would always Facebook stalk, right? We all do that. We all Facebook stalk each other. And I would hit first name, last name, enter. And when that profile would pop up, the only thing I look at is friends in common. And if I saw that we had one or two friends in common, or best case here, like no friends in common, I was salivating to get in front of this person because I knew, just like this Mark Granovetter, this professor at Stanford, who's way smarter than me, he said that's the key to unlocking these new opportunities. I knew once I met with them that this could lead to greater opportunities, right? And more referrals and just me getting exposed into a whole new network of people.
First of all, I love that strategy. I love like how you even broke it down. So what are some of the best practices when it comes to building a referral business?
Oh, I love that question because I think getting those at bats, as much as people think that's the hard part, that's like the easy part because that's just asking a different question and meeting people, going out there, meeting people. When you're in that batter's box, how you establish that relationship, that's, I think, the next level. And so for us, here's the formula. I'll share exactly, right? Number one, the mindset when I go into these meetings, I'm basically looking to see if I'm meeting you, Raquel, for the first time. All I'm doing is I want to identify if you're a jerk, right? And if you're a jerk, cool. This is the last meeting. I don't want jerks in my life. But if we find out that you're not a jerk, which you're not, you're someone that I want to continue to establish and cultivate and curate a relationship with, right? That's when you know to go to the next level. So how do you do that? A lot of the times I think the apprehension people have in meeting someone is because their thought is like, well, what are we going to talk about? So I follow one of the most traditional formulas, right? The Ford model, family, occupation, recreation, dream. I literally go through that. I'll be like, Raquel, are you married? Do you have a partner, spouse? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? What kind? What's your dog's name? Go through family, occupation. What do you do for a living? Where do you work? How long have you been doing this? Do you like where you work? Do you like what you do? Like recreation, what'd you do on the weekend? Where do you like to travel? What's your favorite restaurant to eat at? Super easy. And then for dream, I just pick one of those three and I just ask an aspirational question, right? I'll give you a quick example. This was like 2000, maybe 11 or 12. I can't remember. One of my past clients and good buddy, Evan, he introduced me to one of his buddies, Mark, just through me doing this, right? Calling and asking, who's a good buddy I need to meet? And we sit down, and it's funny because before that meeting, everyone's like, dude, just so you know, Mark just bought like a $2.5 million crib. So I don't think he's looking to sell or move anytime soon, which I said, that's cool. I don't care about that. I just want to meet good people. So we sit down and I'm talking with Mark. I always like to pull, I'm old school. I pull out a notebook, although now I use a Remarkable. So I still am writing something because I think it's important that the person you're meeting, when they visually see this guy's taking notes on me, either that's creepy or like, why does he care so much? And that's good. So I go through this, and during one of my recreational questions, I asked what he likes to do. And he said he loves going on hikes. He loves hiking. So of course, my aspirational question is like, what's your dream hike? And he had shared with me, Mark's like, it's not just one, it's many. I have a goal of one day renting an RV and going to every national park that's west of the Mississippi and going on a hike at each national park. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I went back. I always write a handwritten note, but I went on Amazon for this one and I bought a little toy match car RV, right? It was like $1.50. I think it cost me more to ship it to him. And in my handwritten note, I said, hey, this is a token of my gratitude. I'm so glad Evan connected us. I don't know if you're a big visualization person, but I am. Hopefully this little car one day will turn into the real one and you'll get to go on all your hikes. Fast forward, summer of 2020, pandemic. What was everyone doing? They're renting RVs and going to Yellowstone National Park, right? He literally now has a family. At the time he was just married, now has a family. He rented an RV, went on his dream trip, and he brought my toy Matchbox RV with him, and he took a selfie with it at every national park entryway sign. Okay. It was impactful. And since then, he still lives in his same $2.5 million house in Lincoln Park. I've yet to ever personally help him. But in the last 11, 12 years, he's referred me 20 buyers, and they all buy $2.5 million homes because it turns out successful rich people hang out with successful rich people. So this guy's literally put $40, $50 million of sales volume into my business from me paying attention, right? And what this comes down to, if I break it down even more for anyone that's listening, and I think this is the important part, because we're in this like hustle culture and it's like, just do whatever it takes, like cold call anyone. And listen, to each their own. I have one of my best friends. He's a number one agent in Chicago. He's a Zillow king, right? He kills it. And I respect that, but that's just not me, right? I can't chase cold call buyers and FSBOs and expires, but it works. And I think a lot of the times people have an apprehension in that, right? And the apprehension they have is like, well, why am I going to ask you, Raquel, who's a stranger, to do something for me when I've not done anything for you? And I feel like 9 out of 10 people will say like, well, suck it up, you're in sales. And I think that's a terrible mindset to have. I think one, you have to really understand and download that feeling, right? And self-reflect, because it's a real feeling, and then honor it and figure out, how do you get around that? For me, how we got around that, because I felt the same way, is that when I meet someone, when I met Mark for the first time, he looks like an ATM machine to me. Okay. And what I mean by that, and for any like one born in the 90s, an ATM is like a physical brick and mortar Venmo. Okay. We used to go to these things to get money out. I think they still exist. But what I mean by that is like when you meet someone for the first time, it's just like when you pull up to an ATM, put in your card, punch in your code, and there's really two action items, right? You either can make a withdrawal and take money out of your account, or you make a deposit, put money into your account. And that's how we break down, look at relationships. When I've identified that you're not a jerk and I want to build a relationship, I have an opportunity either to take and make a withdrawal from this new relationship and ask you maybe for a referral or introduction, or I can make a deposit into your life and add value. And me taking notes for the last 30 minutes, asking you all these weird questions about your family, your job, and what you like to do for fun and your aspirational dreams, the answers you've given me are basically mini deposit slips that now I can use to figure out ways to make deposits into your life. And so how we approach relationships is we like to lead with deposits. We like to make 2 or 3 deposits before we make a withdrawal, because then we've built up our relationship capital. And when I make a withdrawal, I'm not taking $20 out of this account. I'm maxing out the daily limit. And the beauty is you've given me permission to do this because I filled up this account, and you see the value that I provide and the value in our relationship, right? So now, Mark, because I made this small little deposit of saying that I paid attention to our conversation and I genuinely want to see you succeed and live out your dream hike and dream trip, he allowed me to make these withdrawals that by him putting deposits into me, right, that were 20, 21 buyers and sellers that add up to almost 40, $50 million in sales, right? So looking at things that way is really what helped us become more intentional in our database to build this big 90% referral-based business.
I absolutely love it. And you dropped a ton of gold. I love the question and just the story. I'm like imagining it a little motorhome or Airstream and then it got sent to him. And so what would you say, right? Like as you continue to build those relationship deposits and capital, as you look back, what would you say, no matter what, Raquel, every year we do this in our business and it sends us the most impact and most referrals?
Yeah. Great question. So to answer that question, you have to be obsessed with really tracking your business. And I always say, people always say, okay, yeah, like, where did your business come from? What's the majority? And they'll say Sphere. I'm like, okay, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's like a niche. I need you to find your sub niche, right?
Yeah.
From your Sphere, who are those people? What organization or where in your life, what community did that come from? So for me, I always say, just because you wear a Fitbit doesn't make you fit, right? You need to be able to use that data and hone in and figure out, okay, cool, because I'm have 30,000 steps a day, I'm losing weight. So maybe I need to do 60,000 steps next week and I'll do double the weight, right? When you track that, and for us, we knew exactly each team member, right? They know where their wheelhouse is within their Sphere, what that sub niche is, and they just double down on those activities, right? For us, when we goal set at our events, we know now we're fully a people business. So we know the delta, the gap between how many units we want to do, we did this year to next year is not, all right, we need to farm for new listings. It's like, okay, we're 1,000 people away, new people next year, because we typically convert about 12% of our database. So we know if we add another 1,000 people, that's another 250 units, right? So we just need to set us up for success so that we can do that. So for us, that's how we look at it. And what we consistently do then year over year is, once we know our sub niche on who we need to focus on, we do that activity, which for us, it's a minimum of 10 face-to-faces a week, right? And our hack around that, personally for me, I'm a chubby guy. I like to eat. So like I have to eat lunch. One, because I'm miserable to be around when I'm hangry. And two, like that's how I nourish my body. So that's an activity I don't do alone. Like rarely. I'm not a guy that's going to get a salad and eat it at my desk. I'm never going to get a salad, period, but I'm never going to do like that and eat alone. So every day I have break bread set up. And that doesn't mean I'm paying for it. Now I usually will, because I'm in a place where I can. But when I first was starting this 10, 11 years ago, I was going to a Panera, right? A place where I order, swipe my card, move out of the way, let my guests order, swipe their card. It's about the act of breaking bread. And lunch is something everyone has to do. And it's a 45-minute commitment. And it allows you to figure out ways to make deposits, right?
How do you make sure that it's not more than 45 minutes? Because I know some of my high I people that are probably listening to this, I'm like, oh, this lunch thing could be really fun for 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yes, that's a great question. Well, one, here's the hack around it, is typically the person you're meeting with, especially if they're like a working professional, they need to get back to their desk. So they're going to be the one keeping the eye on the time for 45 minutes. But the other way I hold myself accountable is like, I'm religious to my calendar, my schedule, right? The time block. So I know that I have another meeting stacked, or I have to get to my next activity that's at 1:00. So I'm always keeping an eye on that, right? So it's a two-way street, but it's a lot easier than you think, because usually people will have to get back to work, or get back to their Zoom meeting. So they're going to be the ones really on top of it. So that's why it's such a great way to do it, because it's like non-committal. You have to eat and you have to go back to work. So sure, I'll do that. So then the second piece is at 3:00. I'm not like a workout junkie like you are, right? I see you're a beast in the gym. I wish I could be. So my body, while your body produces endorphins naturally, I have to manufacture them through caffeine. So I have to have coffee at 3:00. And that's something, I'm not sitting at my desk, burying my head in emails, right? And sipping on coffee. I have a coffee with someone. And so doing that, also now I have another face-to-face. And the great thing about doing coffees, especially with someone that's a cold first time meeting, is that it's non-committal. Someone is willing to commit to have coffee with you because they know in the back of their minds, if I pull up and TC is a complete psychopath, I will just get up and leave. And I have a cup of coffee. So it's like a win-win, right? And you're in a public place. So people feel safe about it. So it's such an easy place, a way to do it. I'll give you my quick hack on that. Now I'm in a place where where my coffees come to me and they come to my office to do this, right? But when you first started, I had to go to them. And so what I did was I set up shop. Don't go to a Starbucks or like a Pete's or like a Phil's. Go some mom and pop coffee shop. Everyone's got a mom and pop shop. I would set up at a mom and pop shop. I went to this place called Absento back in the day, and I would religiously always come at 2:45, right, for my 3 o'clock. And they start to notice you, the business owner, and you start to get to know them and you build this relationship. And then they start to notice, and then they start to appreciate that every single day, well, Monday through Friday, I'm doing this. You're bringing in a new customer that never knew about this coffee shop existed, and they start to appreciate that. And here's the cool part. At my peak, when I was doing this out in the field, I would come 2:45, get my coffee, sit down. My guests would come in and they see me already sitting down with a coffee and they already feel like they're late, even though they're on time. And I would offer, hey, can I get you something? And 10 out of 10 times, say, no. Like, I'm good. I'll be back. Let me get my coffee. They go order their latte. The business owner knows, oh, are you meeting with TC? He goes, yeah. Oh, he's such a great guy, right? They start showering me like, this guy is just like an awesome realtor. And then they just upgrade their small latte to a medium latte just as an appreciation back to me. And then there's like quadruple hearts poured in with foam and milk. And they're like, holy crap. They come back literally every time. They're like, dude, like these people love you. Oh my gosh, they were so complimentary of you. And they just upgraded my coffee because of you. So it's like a double deposit. So now this business owner, you've made a deposit into their lives because you're consistently showing up. You're bringing new business to them and they'll do anything for you. And so at my peak, they literally used to put a reserve sign on the same table I would sit at and let nobody sit there just because they knew I was going to pull up and bring new people, right? That double deposit is huge. And so that's the stuff that we do and continue to do for the last 10, 11, 12 years since we got obsessed with our database and building these relationships. That hasn't changed.
I love it. I mean, gosh, I think if you were going to listen to that again. And so for those that like, and you have all these quick hacks, which I love. What's your quick hack for your script for inviting the people to these coffee?
So here's the best part. I don't even have to, because when I'm lead generating every morning, we do 9 to 11. And I'm asking that question that I proposed in the beginning of my script of like, hey, who do you know? Who's that person that you go to lunch with, the happy hour? I asked, can you connect us via text or email? Because the people that I'm lead generating, we're calling our database. These are people we've made deposits into. So we have built this relationship capital. When they intro, they are literally like how you hype me up at the beginning of this podcast intro. They're doing that because they've seen the value of the deposits I've made. They're like Flavor Flav hyping me up saying, hey, you have to meet with Tommy. This is what he's done for me. He's such a great guy. It's not like this is like my realtor. And so me then setting up and saying like, hey, Raquel, I can't wait to meet with you. Would you be available for a coffee next week at 3 o'clock? Here's my Calendly link. No one ever like, hey, I just sold, so I don't know what this is about. Because our conduit, right, our weak tie that connected us, they're hyping you up. They believe them. They're like, wow, okay, I guess I got to meet them. So that's the hack, is that if you're pouring into the people that you made deposits into and drawing from that well, you don't even need scripts. All you got to do is have a Calendly link and send it to them. Say, I'm excited to meet you. And they're going to schedule that meeting with you.
I freaking love it. And yes, I will hype you up any day, right? And it's the truth. So you talked about, obviously, people that are wondering, you've got this referral business and sometimes people move out of state. And you talked about this 1,000 gap or your have not met. What do you do to bring in new clients beyond your referral business so that your database or your clientele stays fresh?
Yeah, I think what a lot of realtors sleep on is the power of realtor relationships. And so a huge gap. So I would say like when that 80, 90, 91% of it fluctuates every year is true, just straight up referral business. The other 10% of that is realtor referral business that we get. And that's why I think it's so important having relationships with you, right? Being able to pour into each other, helping each other. That's why I continue to stay involved. I mean, that's not the reason. That's a byproduct of the reason of why I'm involved and why I continue to be involved and why we're involved in ARIA and organizations like that, because when you're rolling with the like-minded people that are there because they care about our industry and the organization and we're giving back, when I think about someone that needs a place in Scottsdale, right, I'm going to be thinking about you naturally because we're in the trenches together. And so that's a really great way that I think a lot of realtors they're not as intentional, right? They just will, and we all have Facebook groups and people will tag someone and they think that's going to get them the referral. Like, you need to be making deposits into other realtors as well, right? And that's not just I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's not, people aren't referring me because I'm referring them 2 out of every 1 referral back, but it's because I'm giving back as much as I can in ways of either brainstorming, masterminding, being an open book, sharing what works with me, for me, with them, right? There's other ways of making those deposits. And that's a huge, I think, source of business that a lot of realtors don't look at because they're like, what am I going to get going to Chicago at an ARIA national convention to hang with other realtors? That makes no sense to me, right? But the power in referral is real in those rooms.
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on about this like referral business, networking, how much it's done for our business as well. But in today's climate, and you have a pulse of everything that's happening in our industry, if you were to give advice to our audience today, in order for them to be successful and or continue their success, what are 3 things agents should be doing right now?
Oh, I love that question. Number one, and I'm saying this in importance, I think this is the most important thing, is you need to be focused on continuing to build or start building your personal brand. Your personal brand is like the most important thing. It's one of my favorite, I think it was a TED Talk that Seth Godin, who's like the guru of marketing, once said about the importance of brand, right? If Nike were to open a hotel today, we would all know what that hotel would be like, what the aesthetic, the vibe, the energy. But if Hyatt were to launch a shoe, we would have is it an orthopedic shoe? Is it a sandal? What is it? I have no clue because they are a logo. And I think a lot of us today, we're more of a logo on a for sale sign than an actual personal brand. And I think being the personal brand and really focusing in on that and honing in on that, that's the most important thing, which leads to, I think, the second most important thing is leveraging your digital presence to amplify that personal brand. And you know this, right? You're the queen of this. So you have to be very intentional on what your digital presence looks like on social media, on Google, on whatever, because that's where you're going to be able to amplify and draw in that traffic to your personal brand. And people, it's like when you're walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, me just looking at these storefronts, I know the good stores, I know exactly what they're selling, what they're about, and whether they're a luxury high price point or if this is like a very affordable price point shop. Like our digital presence should be the same thing online. People should be able to come and not be confused and be like, I have no idea like who this person is, but they should really understand what I'm about, whether it's my personal life and my business life, but there should be zero confusion, right? This guy is a beast in real estate. He loves Chicago. He understands Chicago. He likes to eat. He loves his family, right? It's very crystal clear, and you'll attract more business that's in line in that same vibration as you. And who doesn't want that? That's like those are the greatest people to work with, right? So yeah. I think you do those 2 things and you focus in on that and continue to pour and build into that and be as the best realtor you can be for your customers and your clients. That is like a complete recipe of just dominating and building a huge business.
So good. I mean, I think what I heard from that is you got to be who you are, because, and like you said, the logo on a sign that doesn't have personality. So like when we say digital brand and how you've even explained it, it's not, there's a CTA of buy a house, interest rates, like that's your whole feed. Right. Because they want to see Tommy go out to eat, right? They want to see his family. They want to see Chicago, right? And so they align with those. And I feel like those are opportunities to build relationship. It's social, like relationship. We leverage platforms for relationships and to build relationship, not to sell something every day or something bad every day.
100%. It makes your lead generation easier because when you focus on that personal brand and your online digital presence, and especially when you're, to your point, it's not just like a digital just sold cold or just listed, and you're actually educating and dropping bombs and making those deposits. It's like I always tell people that have ever played Uno, it's like having a handful of reverse Uno cards, because you're literally just reverse lead generating, because people are going to slide into your DM and start asking you questions about this. And when they do, I literally convert those into like, oh my gosh, you know what? Can we have coffee next Thursday? Let's go into this. I'd love to catch up with you more. And now I have appointments. Now it's filling those 1,000 people that I need to meet this year. So to your point, it just makes things so much easier, and you're attracting more of those opportunities. So you don't have to worry about pounding those phones and lead generating in the traditional sense.
You've got a lot of things going on, Tommy. So what are you most excited about that you're working on right now?
Man, there's so much I'm excited about. I would say right now, in this, like I've been building with some of my business partners, Mo Ismay, Amir Syed, this growth only coaching community. We launched 1.5 years ago on the loan officer side. We're about to launch on the agent side. Mo just launched on the creative side. So helping realtors and loan officers really hone in their personal brand online. And that's just it's a great opportunity for me personally, because I just love pouring into people and seeing people succeed, because someone did that for me when I first got in. And if I can do that for even just one person, I will sleep better at night. So that's what really gets me excited for the months ahead here.
I love it. And where can people connect with you?
Instagram's the best. My handle, I don't know if you're going to have it, but it's my first name, middle name, last name, Tommy Joo, Joo, Choi, Choi. And Tommy with a Y. More people now spell my name with IE, which is like crazy. I don't know many Tommies with an IE, but it's with a Y.
We will definitely put it in the show notes. And as we wrap up, there's always one question that I ask every single guest on the show.
Oh boy, I'm nervous.
Is what does Tommy do to play bigger in business or in life?
Oh, I'm so glad. I thought you were going to ask me, how much do you weigh today? Okay. What I do to play bigger in business and in life. Okay. It's two things, right? I'm always surrounding myself with just amazing people. And you have to be intentional and purposeful. There's no shortcuts in life, but the biggest accelerator in life is the people you surround yourself with, right? Power by proximity. And the other piece of it is I'm always staying learning based, and I'm always adaptable. Even after $1 billion in sales, there is no me kicking my feet up on the table and hitting the easy button. We're constantly popping the hood of our car, looking at how our engine's running and questioning everything. And that's, for me, doing those two things, I'm always playing bigger and leveling up.
Oh my gosh, so good. I've enjoyed my time with you. I want to say thank you so much for pouring into our community. I know people are going to enjoy this episode, and I cannot wait to keep supporting you and playing bigger with you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Grateful for you.
Grateful, so grateful.